Welcome, podcast listeners and viewers, to episode 7 of the Lone Road iRacer's podcast with me, your host, Guy Robertson. And tonight we've got a couple of juicy topics for you. We're going to look at budget versus premium. What's really worth spending it on in iRacing? And we're also going to look at a different perspective, which is the iRacer's wife. Today we're tackling a topic that's important for every iRacer, whether you're just starting out or you've been racing for years. The question of budget versus premium. What to spend and not to spend in iRacing. From membership to tracks, cars, gear and even extra content like paint schemes or data packs, we're going to explore where it's worth saving and where you might want to invest in a little more to enhance your iRacing experience. Whether you're on a tight budget or looking to build the ultimate sim racing setup, this topic will help you figure out how to get the most bang for your buck. So section 1 is all about iRacing membership. The first expense every iRacer faces is the cost of the membership to even join iRacing, and that's where your budgeting journey begins. So how would you approach memberships? Budget approach. Let's start with the basics. If you're new to iRacing or unsure if you'll stick with it for the long term, the monthly membership is probably the best bet. It gives you access to a decent selection of cars and tracks without the need for big upfront costs. You'll get access to popular cars like the Mazda MX-5 and tracks like Laguna Seca. For the first few months, this is enough to dip your toes into iRacing, improve your skills, and figure out if you want to invest more. One thing to note is that iRacing often discounts for new users. iRacing offers discount for new users, so look out for those deals when you're first signing up. From the premium approach, for those who are a bit more committed, an annual membership is the way to go. iRacing runs sales several times a year, offering discounts on annual or even multi-year memberships. This is where you can save big, especially if you know you'll be racing for the long haul. The beauty of the premium membership is not just the cost saving, but the peace of mind knowing you don't have to worry about monthly renewals. On top of that, veterans can take advantage of renewal discounts or referral bonuses to knock off even more from the price. The budget conscious should start with a monthly plan until you're sure you're hooked. But if you're committed, grabbing an annual membership during a sale is the best way to save in the long run. Now, let's think about tracks. So you've now got your iRacing account. So which tracks do you buy? Now let's talk about the tracks. iRacing offers an incredible range of circuits, but buying them all would seriously dent your wallet. So what's the best strategy for track purchases? From a tight budget point of view, if you're racing on a budget, the smart move is to focus on the tracks that are most frequently used in your chosen series. And people, if you remember not last week but the week before series, there was a top 8 within iRacing that is used regularly. So they're the ones that I would personally recommend you buy. Whether you're into road racing, ovals or rallycross, every series has a core set of tracks that show up regularly. For road racing fans, tracks like Spa-Francorchamps, Road Atlanta and Watkins Glen are particularly essential as they appear in multiple series. For oval racing, you'll want to pick up tracks like Daytona or Talladega, which are most used in many NASCAR events. It's all about maximising usage. Buy tracks that will get you through a full season rather than ones you might only race on occasionally. Now, if money was no object, if you want to race across multiple series and try different types of events, it's worth expanding your track collection. A wider variety of tracks allows you to jump into most any series or special event without worrying about whether you own the required content. However, even as a premium user, you can save by purchasing track bundles. iRacing offers discounted pricing when you buy multiple tracks at once, so you can get more content for less if you plan your purchases. Another tip for premium users, look out for the special seasonal events or special races that take place on unique tracks like Le Mans or Bathurst. These races can offer an entirely new level of challenge and excitement, but you'll need to own the track to participate. So budget racers should prioritise tracks that are frequently used in their chosen series, while premium racers should look into bundles and consider expanding their track collection for more flexibility and variety. So you've got a car, so you haven't got a car yet, so you've got a track. So we're going to move into cars next. Is premium worth it? We're going to dive into the topic of cars. Just like tracks, iRacing offers a wide variety of cars, but not all are necessary for every racer. So how should you approach car purchases? From a budget point of view, the best strategy is to pick up a series that you enjoy and invest in a few key cars. For example, if you love GT3 racing, cars like the Mercedes AMG GT3 or the Porsche 911 GT3R are great options. Focus on series where these cars will see consistent use, so you get the most out of your purchase. Also remember that some cars are more popular than others. Look at the participation rates in official races. Purchasing a car that's commonly raced increases your chances of finding full grids and competitive racing. For those who want variety and have got the cash, expanding your car collection is a fun way to keep things fresh. Maybe you love the high-speed thrill of LMP2, but sometimes you want to switch things up with a touring car or Formula 3. Owning cars in different classes allows you to jump between series and experience different styles of racing. Once again, bundles are your friend here. Often, iRacing offers car packs at a discount, which is a great way to build a device garage without overspending. Even if you're going premium, it's still smart to be strategic and buy cars that will be useful across multiple series. So the takeaway here for budget racers, you should focus on cars that align with your favourite series, while premium users can enjoy more variety by expanding into different classes, but do it smartly by taking advantage of the bundles. So we're moving into a little bit of hardware now. So we've done pretty much the software side of it so far. Sim racing gear. So this is where it gets really interesting. Budget versus premium as always. Now we're going to shift gears and talk about the hardware side of things. Your sim rig can range from budget friendly to high end, and this is where spending can make a noticeable difference. If you're just starting out, you don't want to spend a fortune on your sim racing rig to be competitive. A solid force feedback wheel like the Logitech G29 or Thrustmaster T300 offers a great entry point. Pair it with a basic set of pedals and you'll have everything you need to get started in iRacing. And personally, that's all I had to start with, a Logitech G29, and that got me to A class and up to 2K I rating as well on the road license. So, as it said, you don't need to spend big. A single 1080p monitor or even a TV screen can work also just fine if you're trying to keep costs down. You'll still get a good racing experience, and as you improve, you can gradually update your gear. Another budget tip, don't worry too much about extras like button boxes or handbrakes early on. These can be added later once you've honed your skills and know what additional hardware will benefit your style of racing. Now for people with cash to splash, and you're ready to invest in your iRacing experience, there's a world of high-end gear that can enhance your immersion and control. A direct drive wheel like the Fanatec DD2 or SimiCube offers much stronger and smoother force feedback, giving you a more realistic feel for the car's behaviour. Premium pedal sets with load cells provide better precision in braking and acceleration, which can make a noticeable difference in your lap times. And for those looking for maximum immersion, a triple monitor setup or a VR headset like the Oculus Rift or HP Reverb G2 can bring the track to life in ways a single screen simply can't. Motion rigs, they take a serious investment. However, if you've got the cash, this might be for you. Take immersion to the next level by simulating the physical movements of the actual car. So the takeaways here for budget-conscious racers, you can perform just fine with an entry-level hardware. But premium users can elevate their experience and performance with direct drive wheels, load cell pedals, and immersive setups like triple monitors or VR. Now, you've got everything now, really. How do you even increase it up yet another notch? So this section's all about miscellaneous expenses. What about paint schemes, data packs, and coaching? We're going to talk about these extras. They may not be essential, but they can enhance your experience and help you improve. So for our budget races, if you're looking to add some flair to your cars without spending too much, custom paint schemes are easy and an affordable way to do it. Platforms like Trading Paints offer a range of free paint schemes that will allow you to personalize your ride. While the premium options, you don't need to spend money to get a great look for your car. When it comes to setups, free resources like YouTube tutorials or setup guides from other players can be a goldmine for new racers looking to improve their performance without subscribing to a service. Now, personally, I've got my own Trading Paints page. I'll leave the link in the show notes, and there's loads of different paint schemes on there, all free. I'll put the link in the show notes for anybody that wants to go and peruse and maybe race a car or two. For our premium iRacers, so for those serious about shaving off time and improving their racecraft, premium data packs and setups from providers like Virtual Racing School or VRS or iRacing setups can be a game changer. These packs give you an access to optimized setups and data from top level drivers, which can help you improve faster than trial and error. If you're willing to invest even further, professional coaching sessions can offer personalized guidance on where you can improve, whether it's in your driving technique or race strategy. So the takeaways here, free options for paint schemes and setup guides are more than enough for budget racers. Premium racers who want to fast track their improvement can benefit from data packs, coaching, though these are an optional investment. So to conclude this section of the podcast, we've talked about lots of subjects on the budget side of iRacing and the premium side of iRacing, but there's no one-size-fits-all approach to spending in iRacing. It all depends on your goals, your budget, and how serious you are about sim racing. If you're getting started or prepared to keep things budget friendly, you can still have an amazing experience by being selective with your purchases and taking advantage of free resources. But for those who want the ultimate racing experience, premium purchases like high-end sim gear, a wide range of tracks and cars, and professional setups can take your racing to the next level. So what about you, listeners and viewers? Where do you draw the line between budget and premium in your iRacing experience? Let us know in the comments or reach out to us on social media. We'd love to hear your strategies about managing your iRacing expenses and maximising value. I hope you enjoyed that section. We'll be back after this short break and we're going to talk about the second subject tonight. Controversial as it's going to be, it's called the iRacer's wife. So this topic is going to be controversial. I'm sure I'll get a bit of grief, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. We all have a wife, partner, girlfriend, somebody we love, somebody we live with, that maybe isn't so much into iRacing or sim racing as we are. So this is a little piece of the podcast which is about how to manage and balance your sim racing versus time with your partner, spouse, etc., etc. So it's going to be good, folks, so listen in. We often talk about sim racing from the driver's perspective, but what is it like to live with someone who spends hours on the track, fine-tuning setups, or talking non-stop about lap times? Well, we're going to dive into the world of the iRacer's wife or partner and explore how sim racing impacts relationships, how couples manage the balance, and how partners can be part of this exciting yet demanding hobby. And yes, we'll also address those heated moments when the iRacer gets wrecked and emotions run high. Let's start by talking about the passion, or in many cases, the obsession. That is sim racing. For many iRacers, what starts as a casual hobby can quickly evolve into something much more serious, consuming a significant amount of time and energy. While the iRacer is completely immersed in perfecting their lap times or mastering new tracks, the partner often sees a very, very different side of this hobby. The iRacer's perspective. For the iRacer, the time spent on the rig is more than just fun. It's about competition, community, and personal growth. Racing in different series and keeping up with the community can feel like a full-time commitment. But from the outside looking in, sim racing can sometimes look like a never-ending loop of driving in circles, staring at screens, and tuning cars. The partner or wife might feel left out, frustrated by the amount of time the iRacer spends in their virtual cockpit. This is especially true when racing overlaps with family time, social commitments, or even sleep schedules. So understanding each other's perspective is key here. While the iRacer is passionate about the sport, communication is essential to avoid resentment from the partner who might feel left out on the sidelines. So we've got to think about that balance. Now, finding a balance between sim racing and real life is what this next section's about. Let's get to the crux of the issue. How do you balance the demanding world of iRacing with your relationship? This is something many couples have to figure out as the sim racing hobby grows. One thing you could do is setting boundaries. One of the most important steps is setting boundaries. This can be as simple as agreeing on specific times for racing versus family time. For instance, some iRacers may agree to keep their racing to certain days or time slots, allowing for a clear separation between sim racing and spending quality time with their partner. Discussing expectations up front can avoid the frustration of feeling like iRacing is taking over household life. Another way to balance things is by scheduling races and practice sessions around important family or relationship moments. For example, knowing when major races are happening helps prepare partners or wives for periods when the iRacer will be especially focused. Meanwhile, ensuring that key dates like anniversaries or family gatherings are prioritised can prevent conflicts. Managing noise and space is our next subject. Sim racing rigs, as we know, can take a lot of physical space and produce noise, especially with high-end setups. Managing the space where the rig is set up can make a big difference. Partners or wives may feel less frustrated if the rig is in a dedicated room or corner where noise and disruptions are minimised. So, to stop falling out, we can offer clear communication about boundaries and schedules, as well as managing the physical space of sim racing. This can help create a healthier balance between the hobby and the relationship life. Supporting each other's hobbies. While iRacing can sometimes dominate a household, many partners have hobbies of their own. This leads us to the idea of mutual support in relationships. Supporting the iRacer's passion. Even if your partner isn't into racing, showing interest into what makes your iRacer excited can be a great way to connect. Some partners may make an effort to learn a bit about the sport, watch a few races, or even help with setup tasks. Others may join the fun by getting behind the wheel themselves and doing a few hot laps. Although you might not become an avid racer, sharing moments in the hobby can make your partner feel supported and understood. On the flip side, it's just as important for the iRacers to support their partner or wife's interests as well, whether it's giving time and attention to their hobbies or being flexible when there's a clash between racing and other plans. Showing that the relationship is a two-way street can build a stronger bond. So the takeaway here is showing support for each other's hobbies, including iRacing, can strengthen the relationship, whether through shared moments or simply respecting each other's time. Mutual support is key. Now, we're getting into a section now which is about outbursts. And I personally got into trouble midweek this week as I let rip on the service to some psychotic driver who crushed me into a wall, and that person was a back marker and I was in P8, so absolutely no need for it. But my wife let me know on text that she wasn't amused, so we're going to look at that section now. So let's face it, iRacing can be intense. We all are passionate about doing the best we can. Any sim racer or partner of a sim racer knows that moments of frustration and anger are inevitable, especially when a wreck happens. Here's how it usually goes down. After hours of practice, the iRacer is in the middle of a crucial race. Then out of nowhere, they're wrecked by another driver's mistake. Cue the shouting, headsets being thrown, and maybe a few choice words. So how do couples handle these heated moments? The iRacer's meltdown. So the frustration of being wrecked in the middle of a race can be overwhelming. For some iRacing is an escape, a way to blow off steam, or just a complete different thing to what you do in work. When things go wrong, especially after hours of preparation and practice, it's natural for emotions to flare. Your wife or partner may need a few moments to cool down after a crash, and that's okay. It's important to recognise that these outbursts are often not directed at anyone in the room, but rather at the situation itself in the race. From the partner or wife's perspective, for many partners, these outbursts can be startling or annoying. No one enjoys hearing shouting or watching someone get upset over something that isn't real, or that's what they think. However, for the iRacer, the competition is very real. The best approach is often to give them space to cool down. After all, as frustrated as a wreck can be, it's still just a race. Many iRacers return to their normal selves once the initial adrenaline wears off. And it's a bit like being the Hulk, I suppose. in real life, we don't wreck the whole rig, but we're quite angry at the time after we see our safety rating going up or the opportunity of it and some iRacing gains. We know as iRacers it's not easy, but do our partners and wives really understand that? I'm not too sure. What about an apology? So an apology to all iRacers' wives or partners here. So on behalf of all iRacers, we want to extend a heartfelt apology to the wives, partners and significant others who do endure the occasional post-wreck meltdown. We know it can be tough to understand why we get so upset over a virtual race, but it's the passion that drives us. We appreciate your patience more than we can express, and we do love you. So thank you for your patience and putting up with us, the psychotic iRacers at times. Okay, the takeaway. Outbursts after a wreck are often more than a heat of the moment, not a reflection of personal frustrations. Giving your iRacer some space to cool off can also help reset and refocus. Okay, that's a tricky subject done. Okay, how sim racing can bring couples closer. Interestingly, sim racing doesn't always drive a wedge between couples. In some cases, it can actually bring partners closer together. For couples who both enjoy gaming or motorsport, sim racing can become a shared passion. Racing together, comparing lap times, or working on setups can create avenues for bonding. Another way sim racing can bring couples together is through race day traditions. For example, if your partner knows you're having a big race coming up, they might want to help by preparing snacks, joining for post-race debriefs, or even watching the race stream live. Sim racing doesn't have to be a solitary activity. For couples who embrace the hobby together, it can create a unique opportunity for bonding, shared experiences, and even building a broader social network. Like any hobby, sim racing can sometimes cause tension in relationships, especially if there is a misunderstanding about time, money, or energy invested. One of the most common sources of conflict is time. Sim racing can be time consuming, especially when participating in official races and endurance races, taking hours of practice. If a partner feels that race is taking priority over a relationship, tension can build, as we've said earlier. And there's the financial factor. The financial side of sim racing can also cause relationship problems as well, especially if the partner feels that there's overspending. So, managing time and finances while addressing any feelings of neglect or frustration early are the keys to avoiding conflict. Open, honest communication is essential to navigating misunderstandings and keeping the relationship strong. To conclude this section of today's podcast, at the end of the day, sim racing is a thrilling and immersive hobby. But like any passion, it can impact the people around us, especially our wives and partners. Whether you're the iRacer or the one cheering from the sidelines, finding balance, communicating openly, and supporting each other are the foundations for keeping the hobby fun and the relationship strong. We love to hear from you. How do you and your partner or wife navigate sim racing in your household? Do you race together, or is it something you balance alongside other hobbies? Let us know your stories. Put some comments in below. Use the show's email. And we can be a sounding board as well if somebody doesn't know what to do about their relationship linked around iRacing as well. So I hope you enjoyed that section of the podcast tonight. I hope I'm not going to get too much trouble from my wife. I'm sure she'll understand. But that's a subject that we should touch on. We've all got wives, partners, somebody we live with, somebody we love. And we need to share our hobby with them and also be fair and balance iRacing with family life. iRacing news, the headlines and the hot topic. The results are in from the FIA SimMagic F4 Esports Global Championship Series Round 3, and that were 2 races, one at Willow Springs and one at Spa. 2 new winners emerged during the third round of the 2024 SimMagic F4 Esports Global Championship Series this past Saturday. 25 global competitors took to Willow Springs and Spa-Francorchamps, only having the time between when it was announced, that's 24 hours, until the drop of each race respective green flag to prepare for. The first round of the day went in favour of Spain's Alex Sanchez at Willow Springs, while the second of the two went to Great Britain's Geordie Much in an instant classic finish at Spa. Sanchez in particular was in the conversation for both wins but lost out late on at Spa. Much meanwhile had his best combined efforts of the season, combining his victory with an earlier 8th place finish to keep himself in the conversation, albeit just barely, for the overall title. One thing is for certain, after 6 races there is no certainty when it comes to the points, as through each pair of races a new name has sat on top. This time entering the final 2 events in less than 3 weeks, Spain's Aaron Vazquez, despite not having a win to his name just yet, holds the advantage by 3 points over Sanchez and by 4 points over the previous owner of the lead, Great Britain's Luke McEwen. The maximum amount of points available per race is 25, with those finishing 16th or worse taking home nothing. Much is 49 points behind Vazquez, which makes him in 8th overall, the last driver still with a shot of entering the 7th and 8th races, which will be announced as usual 24 hours prior to the event. Those also with a slot include Scotland's Graham Carroll, Australia's Hugh Barter and Czech Republic's Martin Kladicek. However, any drivers not within 25 points following the 7th race will be eliminated, essentially putting Vazquez, Sanchez and McEwen in a 3-man contest for the title. Sanchez pounced on earning his first victory of the season at Willow Springs, starting second to McEwen, but taking control nearly right away. McEwen led the opening lap, but Sanchez passed for the lead entering turn 1 at his next opportunity. Behind them, the field began to separate, with some incidents taking out players like Brazil's Victor Miranda and Australia's Cody Death. Kladicek also found issues dropping out of the important points positions, and by the final lap, only 4 cars remain in the front pack. In the lead, Sanchez defended, while the 3 behind, McEwen, Vazquez and the United States' Elvis Rankin, fought for the catbird seat for the final lunge at the lead. Instead, their antics allowed Sanchez to pull enough of a gap that they couldn't overcome, the trio behind finishing 3 wide across the stripe. Sanchez, who lost both opening races after lead the majority of the laps, finally broke through and cemented his place in the championship fight. It feels very good finally, after leading so many laps in this championship, I come away with a win, Sanchez said post-race. I'm quite happy with that. It was really a tricky track, especially with the wind conditions. They were not what we were expecting, so the car was a lot more understeery than we anticipated. I think that changed the dynamics of racing as well, and I got lucky enough to go P1 early on and managed to stay there trying to defend from Luke for the whole 17 laps. Well, that just summarises how close it is in the championships at the moment. So just to recap, we have Luke McEwen with 86 points in 3rd place, Alejandro Sanchez on 87, and Aaron Vazquez in 90 points. So the overall competition is very, very close. And again, we'll keep you updated after the next round. Also in the news is Robert Malzecker, Who wins from the pole in the IndyCar Bookkicker iRacing Pro Series race at Indianapolis Oval? After 5 races in the inaugural IndyCar Bookkicker iRacing Pro Series season, there has now been 5 different winners, following Thursday's race at the famed Indianapolis Motor Speedway Oval. Private label Team Hype's Robert Malazeka III added his name to the list of winners so far, holding off a pair of Coanda esports drivers, Michael Romanidis and Elliot Veyron, in the final green flag laps of the night. The race ended under caution after a multi-car pile-up on the front stretch with 4 laps remaining. It did stay green long enough for a full green flag pit stop cycle, however, which allowed Malazeka III to lead 24 of the 66 laps, battling with teammate Jason Brophy and Apex Racing's team's Brandon Treno for most of the day. The victory launches Malazeka into 7th in the standings, 40 points behind Team Redline's Cooper Webster for the lead. Malazeka's other teammate Philip Krass finished 4th and jumped into 4th in the points, 31 behind Webster. This is big not only for me but for the team in general, Malazeka said post-race. Our bread and butter is the ovals, and for me to get the win, that should move me up a few spots in the points. For Phil Kraus to get P4, that's massive for him to close the gap to the leader ahead in points. The team did a great job over the last week on the setup. We made some small but really crucial changes that ultimately got us to the pace, not only quality up front, but to get the win. From the pole position, Malazeka spent the day in the top 2 spots, swapping with Brophy for both speed and fuel strategy. A 66-lap race is indicative of a one-stop strategy, but a car in front at full fuel burn will be wary of making it last long enough alone in front. There were early bits of contact, including one moment that broke the front wing on another private label Team Hype Machines John Chins, which forced him down a lap for the entire race. A caution on the 11th lap gave the leaders a bit of relief on the fuel number as Coanda's Esports Jordan Caruso made contact with Drago Racing's Ricardo Rico, also collecting Team Redline's Sam Queter barely. The race continued back under green and the strategy began to form over the long run. Most positions stayed stagnant, but Team 15G's Jacob Oster made a good amount of moves, starting 9th to get up to 4th over the course of the run. This moved the Apex team racing mates of Luke McEwen and Peter Berryman down the order and into the clutches of the lap chin car as well as Krass. A few close calls, including massive contact between Louis Nunez and Adam Crane, did scare some into pitted early, hoping for a perfectly timed yellow, but for the most part, pit road didn't get busy until after halfway. Still out in front, Malazeka and Brophy continued to trade the lead. Brophy led the most laps out of anyone, 29. When it came to time to pit, his race unravelled. Malazeka and Brophy pitted with 31 laps to go, and the red 91 out in front with the bright green 88 trailing. As they entered their stalls, Malazeka's car went up for tyres, while Brophy's didn't drop. Whether the call was intentional or not, no tyres on the 88 forced Brophy into a free fall to the back as those with new tyres worked their way round. There were other instances through the cycle that took other contenders out of the contention. Last week's winner McEwen went too deep in the pit entry, looking up for the tyres into a slide, which caused race-ending damage to his right front suspension. Coanda Esports' Michael Janney also pushed it too deep into the pits, forcing a black flag, which eventually resulted in a crash and retirement moments later in what looked like to be a moment of frustration. A beat with just over 25 laps to go nearly sent the race into caution as Team Redline's Florian Liberge drifted around the corner into a beautiful save after a near 3-wide situation with Broffia and Williams Esports Soto Muto. Moments later, the caution did fall with just over 10 laps to go, as Kras and Bayman came together, sending the latter back up into the traffic, which somehow nobody else managed to get involved. The decision to put would be crucial depending on how many opted in or out. Malzeka stayed out, but the next two behind, Treno and Oster, decided to come in. This gave the bottom 2 steps on the podium to Ramandidis and Veyron, but more importantly, for the 2 that pitted, it mitered them out of the conversation, with Treno restarting all the way back in 18th. On the restart, Quando Duo pressured Malzeka at one point, forcing 3 wide into turn 3, with Veyron up to the top and Ramandidis on the bottom. The iRacing Indy 500 winner from early in the year, Malzeka, backed out of the situation and corner, watching Veyron miss the entry to the corner and Ramandidis slide up of the groove. This allowed the switch back as Malzeka powered to the bottom lane, shooting past the pair by the exit of turn 4. In the back, Treno wasn't making any ground when suddenly his race ended after a power slide. Motorsports' Jeff Drake and LeBurge made contact on his left, crashing up and into the Indianapolis specialist. This set up the race for one final restart with 4 laps to go. As the field took the green, the simultaneously crashed around the 15th. Oster managed to escape through for a 14th place finish, but it sent Webster down the order and into finishing 16th, his worst result of the season. So that gives a top 3 at the moment of Gusto Ariel on 134 points in third, Diego Pinto on 147 in second, and still in the lead, Cooper Webster on 159. So again, we'll keep you up to speed with how that racing series evolves. So that's the end of another podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you enjoyed understanding if you're on a budget, a tight budget for your sim racing equipment, or you've got money to burn. And also a look at what our hobby that we're passionate about, the effects it can have on our wives, partners and significant others, and where we have to balance our hobby against spending time with them and supporting them with their hobbies as well. We're still looking for guests. I'm still looking for co-hosts. I'm sure at times you get sick of listening to just me. So anybody that's interested in being a co-host, a guest, or even sponsoring the show, drop us a line on the show's email and we can hook up. Until then, folks, happy iRacing, and I'll see you on the track soon.